The Yellow Brick Road. This video does not reflect the actual views of real people. These are actors playing a role to entertain audiences. No persons or animals were harmed in the making of this video. Gosh, I love YouTube and I love Google.
Welcome to the Yellow Brick Road. I'm Jordan, this is James, and today we're going to ask, is Marc Lamont Hill an anti-Semite? My guess is no, and people are exaggerating, but people want things to complain about. So here we go. We will provide it for you.
Him?
Yes.
The guy from Remember the Titans?
Yes, that guy.
He looks and sounds. Not really sounding. It looks like him.
So this is Marc Lamont Hill at UN calls for free Palestine from the river to the sea. To chorus of applause.
I can't do that.
What? Yeah, that guy. Alright. Here we go.
As well as the broader ethical, moral, and political implications of their struggle for freedom and justice, as well as equality. As such, this annual convening represents a critical intervention. It also represents a site of possibility. On the other hand, it shows considerable irony. As you well know, this year marks the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This declaration is produced out of the rubble and contradictions of World War II, and it was intended to offer a clear ethical and moral outline of the basic rights and freedoms to which all human beings, irrespective of race, religion, class, gender, or geography, are entitled. This declaration, of course, has been far from perfect, both in design and in execution. Too often we have framed human rights through the lens of the West. We've viewed it through the gaze of colonialism, and we have assessed them through the limited prism of our own experiences. Simply put, the powerful have too often attempted to universalize their own particular and local values. Still, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights has offered us a flawed but functional starting point from which to articulate basic moral and ethical ambitions as global citizens. These ambitions have been particularly helpful when attempting to keep track of the vulnerable against the backdrop of imperialism, exploitative economic arrangements, white supremacy, patriarchy, and all the other entanglements of the modern nation-state.
So far, I'm sure people are yelling SJW at the screen right now. Or when they watch this or whatever.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
How?
I
mean, I haven't heard anything wrong from what he said.
I think a lot of these words have been stolen by corporate Democrats. And now people have like excuses and reasons to just disregard the argument because they use a keyword like racism or patriarchy or whatever.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're just an SJW. And then they just discount the idea itself.
Mm-hmm.
Shit happens though.
For this reason, it is indeed ironic and sad that this year also marks the 70th anniversary of the Nakba, the great catastrophe in May 1948 that resulted in the expulsion, murder, and to date, permanent dislocation of more than 1 million Palestinians. For every minute that the global community has articulated a clear and lucid framework for human rights, the Palestinian people have been deprived of the most fundamental of them. While the Universal Declaration for Human Rights says that all people are, quote, born free and equal in dignity and rights, the Israeli nation-state continues to restrict freedom and undermine equality for Palestinian citizens of Israel, as well as those in the West Bank and Gaza. At the current moment, there are more than 60 Israeli laws that deny Palestinians access to full citizenship rights, simply because they're not Jewish. From housing to education to family reunification, it is clear that any freedoms naturally endowed to all human beings are actively being stripped away from Palestinians through Israeli statecraft.
Statecraft? It's a weird one. But, does any of that sound true to you?
Based off from what I heard, a lot of it's possible. Based off what I heard, especially from Ryan Dawson, and how like certain people, like I would say Palestinians, they're not given. At times, they're not given like the same amount of rights as maybe a Jewish family would be. As far as like whatever, like ethnicity or whatever. Like they can't live over here, or they can't go in this street or this part of town. It's like gated off.
Yeah.
Or armed guards say they can't go here or there.
Oh,
it's tough because I don't know the specifics exactly, you know.
Oh, there's literally a giant wall, right?
Yeah. From what I hear.
Yeah, we're not experts, but
It's,
I don't know, to me my
it's-
little radar in my mind goes off. It's like, something's not right here. I can't, like, with all the documentaries, with all the reporters, guys who seem to be credible on other things, not just the Israel-Palestine subject, but they seem to be accurate on other things, like a Ryan Dawson, like a Jimmy Dore,
Corbett.
like a James Corbett, right? All those guys seem to be saying the same narrative. And our other resource, the only thing else we have to rely on is government talking points.
Yeah.
And then and then the guys who are independent that say the same things usually fall in line with government talking points in other areas.
Like, Kyle, secular talk.
Yeah. Well, you would be against those.
Oh, sure, but still.
I meant more like Ben Shapiro,
Oh, yeah. my
guys
fault.
like that, where it's, I don't know, it sounds like the government handed them a script and said, read this.
Yeah.
You know, Fox News and things like that, CNN, MSNBC. So, for a person who's ignorant on the whole situation, not completely ignorant, but mostly ignorant on the whole situation, I start looking for credible characters that are talking about this. And there seems to be a large-scale human rights violation in that area.
Yeah.
And I'm not a lefty, I'm not a liberal.
I go with
Just
what makes the most
It's
sense.
all in my conscience, man, that's it.
Yeah, I'm going what makes the most sense, you know, as far as like, okay, they're saying this is happening over here. They just want to wipe Israel off. They just want to wipe Israel out. Versus, you see how they can make more money if they make these moves over here, doing this, bulldozing this over here, moving their families out. It's like, why does that sound like more likely, you know?
Yeah. Well, you have corporations, corporate interests when it comes to weaponry in the area.
Yeah.
Also with the bulldozing and house building. Right?
Yeah.
And I think Ryan Dawson drew a bulldozer with cat on it.
The cat, yeah.
And it's Caterpillar, I think, is the construction machinery company. They're getting paid off that. And then the weaponry, you have the Raytheons and shit like that sell weaponry.
Yeah. So again, that's military-industrial complex.
Yeah. And once again, not experts, but
No,
it just makes sense when you look at
I would
it.
say I'm a morally equipped,
Well, it just makes
critical,
sense. Yeah.
critical thinker.
It's sort of like the Russia thing with Trump.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, why are they all spouting this? I don't see the evidence for it. It seems to be the same sources repeating it over and over again. And the same types of people that are independent also saying it, and then their other views happen to line up with them as well. It's like, there's too many coincidences for that. And then one thing just doesn't seem credible, right? If you have WikiLeaks, company that's basically, or apparently has never reported anything that was incorrect, like, ever. So it's like, I don't know. Continuing.
You fucking.
While human rights promises the right to life, liberty, and security of person, Palestinians continue to live under the threat of random violence by Israeli military and police. Disproportionate violence within the West Bank and Gaza, unprompted violence in the face of peaceful protest, and misdirected violence by an Israeli state that systematically fails to distinguish between civilians and combatants. While the Universal Declaration for Human Rights protects us against torture and cruel and inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment, Palestinians continue to be physically and psychologically tortured by the Israeli criminal justice system, a term I can only use with irony. As human rights groups around the world have noted, the use of solitary confinement constitutes a clear and indisputable form of torture. Yet in the West Bank, Palestinians are routinely subjected to solitary confinement and indefinite detention, often without any formal charges being filed. Last year, the Israeli Supreme Court ruled that physical torture in, quote, exceptional cases, including ticking time bomb situations, constitute acceptable means by which to engage in torture. Although these exceptions are themselves a violation of the absolute human right not to be tortured, Israeli security operates in practice in such a way that nearly all Palestinian cases are viewed as exceptional. Nearly every Palestinian is understood to be a potential terrorist, thereby making them susceptible to ticking time bomb investigation tactics at all times. As such, Israel's practices are routinely in clear violation of the UN's Convention on Torture, which was signed by Israel in 1986.
Your kid could be a sleeper cell. We have to stop.
That reminds me of the flotilla story I was just looking at, where I believe 9 people died. They're supposed to, I guess, supposed to be coming in, providing aid to Palestine. But I guess Israeli military intercepted the flotilla, boarded, got hit with pipes and shit, then killed 9 people that were there. And it's like, well, there could be weaponry. They could be bringing in weapons and stuff. And part of me wants to blame both of them, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah. Shitty behavior on both sides, but at the same time.
They could have, easily put their hands above their heads, But at the same time, the military could have said, well, they could have had explosive devices on them. They could have been wearing suicide vests or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I'm not going to justify tyranny. This uppercut, though. Yeah, go check that out.
And ratified in 1991. While the Declaration of Human Rights insists that no one be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile, Palestinians are routinely denied due process of law. West Bank Palestinians are regularly placed under administrative detention, a framework that allows them to be incarcerated for up to 6 months and can be extended after judicial review without being charged with a crime. The only thing needed for such outcomes is the ambiguous claim of a security threat, a claim used by the Israeli state at all times, at all costs, and for all reasons.
that sounds like Abu Ghraib, Guantanamo Bay. That's what that sounds like to me. Or we just hold you indefinitely, and
then there's
just for the pure chance.
The Japanese concentration camps in America, World War II.
Well, if I remember correctly, it was that they held prisoners. They find out in Guantanamo Bay and shit like that. They found out that they were innocent, and then said we can't release them because we tortured them. They might turn into a militant after we let them go.
Ironic, right?
So it's like, but these all sound like military tactics. that governments do. And yeah, if you think that's anti-Semitic to do that, that's kind of crazy on your part. It makes sense to stand up to someone who has a super military, like,
Yeah.
that apparently uses it in a violent way. It's like
Super military that for some reason doesn't like when you talk about their ever extending borders and
and that's for any country.
yeah, bulldozing houses,
Any country that has
settlements.
any country that has the right to blow you away because of whatever,
Because of America.
and then call it defense.
It's for freedom. You needed it.
Yeah.
You want a dose of freedom? Do you? You want a dose? There's a cannon out there. I'll give you a dose of freedom. Paul.
Or get into it, Matt Hunter.
Through this vagueness, Palestinians are routinely punished for their political views rather than any actual threat of violence. The Declaration of Human Rights insists that all humans are entitled to a, quote, fair and public hearing by an impartial tribunal. Israeli military courts, the exclusive adjudicator largely for West Bank residents, and in some cases Palestinian citizens of Israel, they have a conviction rate of more than 99%. That suggests that Palestinians are either more guilty than any other group in human history, or that the Israeli government is unwilling or incapable of offering fair and impartial trials for Palestinians.
Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's
Me
fucking
either.
crazy.
If that is true, what the fuck?
And that just sounds unbelievable. Just like the Trump piss story. Or he, I guess, peed on a bed, or had hookers piss on a bed because Obama slept in it. It's like, man, how believable is that? So again, not an expert, but some things just sound off.
Declaration of Human Rights promises the right to freedom of movement and residence within the borders of each state, as well as the right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to said country. It is impossible to travel throughout historic Palestine and not see the blatant restriction of movement between cities in the occupied Palestinian territories, as well as inside the state of Israel. Standing checkpoints, temporary or flying checkpoints, annexation walls, and other security barriers prevent Palestinians from moving freely, both within areas legally designated by the Israeli government and co-signed by the Palestinian Authority under the terms of Oslo. But also we see in Gaza the restriction of movement that is so severe that it literally defines life in the area. I promise you that I will not exhaust all of my time by enumerating every human rights violation perpetrated by the Israeli government. These are well known and have been well documented by every credible human rights organization in the world. Rather, I would like to speak.
And that's a tough thing to say, because, you know, who's defining credible? But
Yeah.
at the same time, all the things I've heard lean towards that being correct.
Yeah.
Speak to you about the urgency of the current moment.
Fluoride free water?
Forgive my thirst. I literally just got off of a flight from Palestine to come to address you this morning, and I was boycotting the Israeli water, so I was unable to.
Shots fired. That's that BDS shit. Boycott, divest, and sanction, I believe. That's what that stands for. Which, if... I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but if you want to do something non-violent, then you sort of just stay away from it. Like, it's sort of that idea, like, take all, like, the criminal dudes, or all the people that want war in the world, you know, just give them an island, say, this is your island. Just don't come over here, it's all yours. Like that type of thing, but...
Quench my thirst, but thank you for your indulgence, or for indulging me, rather. As we speak, the conditions on the ground for Palestinian people are worsening. In recent decades, the Israeli government has moved further and further to the right, normalizing settler colonialism and its accompanying logics of denial, destruction, displacement, and death. Despite international condemnation, settlement expansion has continued. At the same time, home demolitions and state-enforced displacement continues to uproot Palestinian communities. For Gazans, the 11-year Israeli and Egyptian blockade by land, air, and sea has created the largest open-air prison in the world. With only 4% potable water, electricity access that is limited to 4 hours per day, 50% unemployment, and the looming threat of Israeli bombs, Gaza continues to constitute one of the most pressing humanitarian crises of the current moment. In the West Bank, conditions are not much better. Unemployment is generally around 18%, with frequent loss of income due to Israeli military closures, making it impossible for Palestinian workers to get access to jobs. Settlements and the extra land allocated for them, as well as closed military zones and other restrictions, make it impossible for Palestinian towns to grow. And in the midst of it all, Prime Minister Netanyahu's administration has become increasingly indifferent to critique, censure, or even scorn from the international community for its practices.
Well, if you have a creepy government and no one's stopping them, they're going to continue doing creepy shit.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I don't know what the atmosphere... I'm awfully sure that there's people protesting their government in Israel.
Yeah.
Awfully sure there's citizens there.
Yeah.
I just think not enough of them.
Not nearly enough.
Like here, if our president fucks up, a shitload of people are saying shit.
Yeah.
To where they might somewhat change their mind. Unless it's military, then they don't give a fuck. They'll just go for it.
Depends.
Yeah, sort of depends.
No.
Even with Trump, right? Like he could have straight up bombed Syria, but instead he was aiming for hangars that had no people in them. Right? Not that it worked, but at the same time, he still went for that. Matt Hunter says Marc Lamont Hill once claimed he was kidnapped from another continent and brought here against his will. Yet he has made no attempts to return home, nor have any Africans came to rescue him. Home is
Dude.
That's a subjective thing.
Oh, boy.
I think he meant his ancestors,
Yeah.
not actually him.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm not gonna, like, he does sound like the typical, well, the classical Democrat, right? He doesn't sound too corporate Democrat or neoliberal. He sounds a little bit more like a classical Democrat. Like, okay, I understand the language. I'm not going to agree with everything. But, you know, it is what it is.
At the same time, though, I haven't heard anything really I could say, like, oh, that's an outright lie. A lot of shit might be...
Or offensive.
Yeah.
I think it would only be offensive if you're pro-Israeli government. And there's actually quite a bit of people that are like that.
So I don't see how if he did say this or whatever, I don't see how that has any relation to what he's saying about the Palestinians.
Yeah.
Matt Hunter, I don't see how what you're telling me has any relation to what he's saying about the Palestinian Israeli conflict or whatever. So...
Perhaps the most glaring example of this indifference, as well as the urgency of the current moment, is the recently passed nation-state law. Through this basic law, the Israeli state has officially rejected Arabic as an official state language. It has described settlement expansion both inside and outside of the Green Line as a national value, and it has reinforced the fact that Israel is not a state of all of its citizens. As an American, I am embarrassed that my tax dollars contribute to this reality.
I might have to look that up.
What?
I have no idea.
What?
If whoever Netanyahu or whoever said, you know, it's a national value to expand our our country.
Like that border, right?
our country is only home to certain people, but not
Hey.
others.
Oh, hey, it's like what Dawson said. Like he doesn't support an ethno-state.
Yeah.
It's like someone saying this is a white Protestant Christian country. Like, what?
Yeah. Like, no, it's a patch of dirt, man.
Yeah.
The values would be intrinsic, not genetic.
It's like you show up to Boston, you're like, you just fall on the ground, and you get up like this. Also, you have a white face, freckles. Like, I'm a ginger. Oh, come on.
I am frustrated that no American president since the start of the occupation has...
Name a conflict between whites and non-whites that you and Hill sided with those with the lighter skin. What does this have to do with the Palestinian and the Israeli conflict?
And I might say you, Hill, sided with those with the lighter skin. What?
What does this have to do with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict?
Yeah.
Let's keep playing.
taken a principled and actionable position in defense of Palestinian rights. And I am saddened, though not surprised, that President Trump's administration has further emboldened Israel's behavior through its recent actions. In May of this year, President Trump officially moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, which he recognized as the undivided capital of Israel. This choice not only flew in the face of international law and precedent, but also constituted a powerful provocation and a diplomatic death blow. In late August, President Trump then permanently reneged on America's commitment to funding UNRWA, a move that now leaves millions of Palestinian refugees in medical, economic, and educational peril. Moreover, the move serves as a political strong-arm tactic, whereby the United States is unilaterally UNRWA.
Pause it.
A move that now leaves...
I can't. I gotta answer this. Can't name one, huh?
Well, when the Northmen went against the White Walkers, they were the darker-skinned group. Oh no, I'm wrong then. So I was cheering for them. Or was I? I like the White Walkers because they have superpowers.
I don't understand it, dude. Like, I get what he's saying. What he's asking: name a conflict between the whites and non-whites that you and Hill sided with those with the lighter skin. So he probably means
Like army versus army.
a conflict.
I can name like scenarios, like L.A. riots where they pulled that guy out of the truck and just beat the shit out of him. I was like, fuck those guys. And they're fucking dancing and shit.
Yeah.
I was like, they look like demons right now. Like, you look like you're possessed by something. You can name a movie. I forgot his name, like Nat Turner or something. I forgot the name of the movie. But where they're like, you know, they want freedom or whatever, and they kill all their slave masters, and they kill the fucking wives and the children too. I'm like, fuck those guys. Fuck them.
Jim Jones.
Jim Jones.
He's pretty light, pale dude. Pretty sure I saw some black people in there. There you go. There you go, Matt Hunter. It's not that I can't. Look, I got him. You can't name one. That's not it. I'm questioning your intentions, dude. You're in that Jared Taylor shit, man.
A lot of these, the motivation seems to be revenge tactics, man. Right?
What this is?
No. To where the darker skin fights a lighter skin.
Yeah.
It does seem like that.
That's where his questions somewhat lean towards. Anyway.
Genuine. Don't freeze. You're freezing.
Dude, just press play.
I already did. Fuck.
You pissed off the light-skinned god, Drake. King of the light-skins.
God damn it.
That's what you guys get.
Fucking technology.
Constituted a powerful provocation and a diplomatic death blow. In late August, President Trump then permanently reneged on America's commitment to funding UNRWA, a move that now leaves millions of Palestinian refugees in medical, economic, and educational peril. Moreover, the move serves as a political strong-arm tactic, whereby the United States is unilaterally attempting to resolve, through the Trump administration, the final status of Palestinian refugees. While President Trump's policies have been the most dramatic, it is important that I stress to you, to reiterate to you, that they are not wildly out of step with American policies. Cuts to UNRWA is an idea that has been raised in Washington for years, dating back at least to the George W. Bush administration. President Trump's decision to move the U.S. Embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem caused enormous controversy, but he was merely implementing a bipartisan law Congress passed in 1995. And in so doing, he executed what has already been official United States policy and the fulfillment of a promise made by every United States president and presidential candidate, Democrat and Republican, for a very long time. With regard to the question of Palestine, Donald Trump is not an exception to American policy. Rather, Donald Trump is a more transparent and aggressive iteration of it. As I mentioned at the beginning of my remarks, the words offered today by everyone in this room are a necessary component of our resistance efforts.
I think then we watch Crowder playing the videos of all the presidents, all saying they want to move the capital to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Now, me personally, I don't give a shit. It's like, oh, okay, we'll name this patch of dirt something else now.
Well, I only care if it does any type of thing to oppress someone in any type of way.
I think it was a symbolic thing to say, okay, we absolutely own this. I believe it's considered Holy Land to both Muslims and Jews.
Mm.
But then just naming it as it's Israel's now is basically claiming, like, okay, this is our holy spot. Like, we own this now.
Well, that's intentions behind it.
I don't even know.
Hunter, I want to make a criticism of Hill, but it may come off as insensitive and
indelicate.
Hey, dude, go ahead.
Yeah, go for it. We don't mind.
You could also call in if you want.
Yeah, you could do that too. Also, let us know where you stand on this issue. Curious.
They're both. Oh,
We
I
need
one's
powerful,
louder than the other.
counterintuitive, dangerous,
Somewhat.
and courageous words.
Which one has the? Which group has the letters?
But we must also offer more than just words. Words will not stop the village of Khan al-Ahmar, with its makeshift schools created by local Bedouin villagers. Words will not stop them from being demolished in violation of the Fourth Geneva Convention. Words will not stop poets like Darin Tatur from being caged in Israeli jails, for having the audacity to speak the truth about the conditions of struggle on her own personal Facebook page. Words will not stop peaceful protesters in Gaza from being killed as they fight for freedom against Israel's still undeclared borders. Regarding the question of Palestine, beyond words, we must ask the question, what does justice require? To truly engage in acts of solidarity, we must make our words flesh. Our solidarity must be more than a noun. Our solidarity must become a verb. As a Black American, my understanding of action and solidarity action is rooted in our own tradition of struggle. As Black Americans...
Peace out, Tanya. Shoo-ba-doo.
Stop.
Peace.
Americans resisted slavery, as well as Jim Crow laws that transformed us from a slave state to an apartheid state. We did so through multiple tactics and strategies.
Yeah.
It is this array of tactics that I appeal to as I advocate for concrete action from all of us in this room. Solidarity from the international community demands that we embrace boycotts, divestment, and sanctions as a critical means by which to hold Israel accountable for its treatment of Palestinian people. This movement, which emerges out of the overwhelming majority of Palestinian civil society, offers a nonviolent means by which to demand a return to the pre-67 borders, full rights for Palestinian citizens, and the right of return as dictated by international law.
Now, here's where I probably, I'm going to disagree on his solutions, and that's most people. A lot of people point out things, but their solutions are like, what? And this might be another one of those scenarios. And like, let's point out the problems first, then really think about the solutions, not just follow some political guideline that's been there for years.
Oh, and has been reissued.
Yeah.
It's like, guys, I have the solution. That didn't work over there. Now what?
67 border that they have. Well, it's 2018. Let's think of something, man. What could we really do here? Like, can you look at a movie that's based on that's fantasy or something like that, and if they talk about like a holy city in that movie, for the most part, it's gonna be like, oh, it's this beautiful citadel of all these different people, you know, going to worship whatever the fuck they worship.
Yeah.
In our world, it's fucking death and destruction.
No death.
And
no,
it seems like they want it that way.
It's doom.
Kind of creepy.
Doom.
Yeah. He looks
doom.
comfortable in that suit and tie.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know what you mean.
Hey, I don't like wearing suits. I like wearing this stuff, you know, but...
Looks fine to me, other than the suit looks a little too tight.
It's a style, man.
Yeah, it's like, I'll work out. That's why I did.
Solidarity demands that we no longer allow politicians or political parties to remain silent on the question of Palestine. We can no longer, in particular, allow the political left to remain radical or even progressive on every issue, from the environment to war to the economy, to remain progressive on every issue except for Palestine. Contrary...
That is interesting. Also, I wouldn't say the left.
Yeah, I would say people
so anti-war
in general.
Yeah, I don't think the left is so anti-war, at least nowadays, because of the whole shape-shifting that's happened with Obama in office, to where he just moved well off to the right, but people are like, well, he has a Democrat next to his fucking profile picture, so he must be on the left. Thus, bombing is a left idea.
Yeah. It's like, no, it's a bad idea.
It's like, no, you're just continuing what Bush was doing. You're just saying it nicer. So.
The Western mythology, black resistance to American apartheid did not come purely through Gandhian nonviolence. Rather, slave revolts and self-defense and tactics otherwise divergent from Dr. King or Mahatma Gandhi were equally important to preserving safety and attaining freedom. We must...
Which I wouldn't agree with. Any type of physical violence as a rebuttal. I don't think he's saying that, but he's pointing out that that's what happened. I'm like, fuck that. It's like, if...
Maybe he might be close to pointing out what a ongoing problem is, but solutions are lacking.
Yeah. And if
that reminds me of the whole zeitgeist thing. What are you guys' solutions? Well, this new system and infrastructure. Nope. What else?
Yeah. If you're not ready for real answers, you gotta Like, just go home and watch it on TV, man.
Matt Hunter says justice, any outcome or resolution that adheres to or upholds the doctrine that, quote, poor are, quote, good and the rich are evil. Nope.
No, I don't even think he said that.
Nope.
And maybe you want to see it that way, so you have an easy argument to pick apart, but I don't even think he said that.
I didn't hear that.
And
back to the uncomfortable man in the suit.
Well, it's just a perception thing, right? If someone's living in a dumpster and someone else is living in a fucking 40-acre mansion, it's like, well, you know, maybe you can just chop off a room or something. Let someone else live a little bit. That seems like the righteous thing to do. But if you're not into righteousness, fine, fair enough. But when you're on your deathbed,
it's like, what was it all for?
When you get Ebenezer Scrooged, then
Ebenezer Scrooged. It's not Scrooged.
Say we didn't warn you.
When the Christmas, when the ghost of Christmas passed, like, what's up, bitch? I'm going back. No!
How you just walk away, huh?
You know what's funny?
Like just go off.
Basically, they did a bunch of shadow work. It's like, it's time. Come on. No. Chains, man. You know what this means.
Sad they need ghostly figures to do it for them. It's like, fuck, man.
Can't make decisions by yourself.
You could just did this in your own time.
True.
You'd have been on the shitter just thinking to yourself, I could do better.
It probably was him. It's a dream.
Like, what if I can keep this 40-acre mansion and have people around me not be poor?
It was a dream, Jordan. So basically, it's like the guys on the side there at the business meeting, like, okay, this guy's not getting it, man. Dude's at least 78 years old. We don't know. He has to be 90-something. We got to do something. So he has a dream. His consciousness is like, we gotta fucking make this happen. Who got ideas for dreams? Ghosts? Good. Christmas? That's it.
Like, wouldn't that just be the good idea itself?
No. How does he call him?
If you look at it, you want to take the best possible idea, it would be, well, I'd have a 40-acre mansion. But no one would be starving and living outside. Like, that would be your perfect scenario, wouldn't it? Or we could all have 40-acre mansions. So why aren't you working with the best possible idea first?
Because corruption.
Because one life to live, bro. You only live once. I gotta live it all before I die.
I've died. Now what? What are you gonna do? Oh, you know what's fucked up? Ortega versus what's his name, dude? I can't even forget his name.
Holloway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's this week.
And that's next week. There's no way they schedule a UFC pay-per-view with Wilder and
December. You're right, my bad.
December 8th, right?
It'll be quiet. I want to hear it.
Alright.
Yeah, you're right. Shut up.
There's our email. Matt Hunter, if you want to call in. Let me semi-set that up.
So it was shadow work. You know? It's like, how the fuck do we get this guy to see it? Like, well, any ideas? They throw in the hats and shit. Ghosts. Christmas. And like, well, there's a lot of fucked up shit that happened to this guy on Christmas, man. Let's do that. Yeah. Hello.
Let's let the rest of this play.
allow, if we are to operate in true solidarity with Palestinian people, we must allow the Palestinian people the same range of opportunity and political possibility. If we are standing in solidarity with the Palestinian people, we must recognize the right of an occupied people to defend itself. We must prioritize peace. But we must not romanticize or fetishize it. We must advocate and promote nonviolence at every opportunity, but we cannot endorse a narrow politics of respectability that shames Palestinians for resisting, for refusing to do nothing in the face of state violence and ethnic cleansing. At the current...
Fuck. Called it ethnic cleansing.
I agree with you there.
A lot of people are calling it that too, including the Ryan Dawsons and James Corbett's.
It definitely makes sense. You see, it's one thing when I see, like, when I have an idea that greedy businessmen might be doing, like, shit, you know, for their own gain.
Yeah.
And then it's another when it's part of an ideology.
Yeah.
Or it's like, you can't live here unless you're this. You set up, what do you call it? You move people out, you put up settlements, and you only allow one specific group of people in there. What do you call that? You know?
And you let a few of the other groups so that you don't look so bad.
I don't know. That group Dawson was talking about, it was straight up, you cannot live there unless you're this. In these settlements. They're like towns.
I'm sure there's plenty of Arabs in Israel.
No, I'm talking about the settlements.
Oh, yeah.
Like a boxed off community.
That's different.
Yeah, so back down.
But,
Peacock.
Yeah. Moment, there is little reason
Like this.
for optimism. Optimism, of course, is the belief that good will inevitably prevail over evil, that justice will inevitably win out. In the course of human history, and certainly even in the course of the United Nations, there is no evidence of such a proposition. Optimism is...
right. I sent the email because we use Google Hangouts, just so you know.
Unsophisticated. Optimism is immature. Optimism is what my students have when they take examinations that they did not study for. Some become quite religious at that time.
Call in and say it.
Peace stagnates history. Violence is like a whip on the back of history, spooning it forward against its will. It sounds like you got it from the Golden One, aka Thor, on YouTube. It's like this, you know what I'm talking about? He's like this jacked, yoked, look like he does steroids guy who lifts weights, but also talks about like political shit. He talks about how violence is like the thing pushing us forward through history. It's like no, only because that's been happening. Only because the people who have slaughtered the most have been the winners of history. Thus, they get to write it.
Yeah, I know. But somehow, seemingly, the other alternate part is always squeaked in there somewhere. It's just not in our history textbooks, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Call in.
But regardless of their strategies of optimism, the outcome is far from guaranteed or even likely. What I'm challenging us to do in the spirit of solidarity is not to embrace optimism, but to embrace radical hope. Radical hope is a belief that despite the odds, despite the considerable measures against justice and peace, despite the legacy of hatred and imperialism and white supremacy and patriarchy and homophobia, despite these systems of power that have normalized settler colonialism, despite these structures, we can still win, we can still prevail. One motivation for my hope in the liberation and ultimate self-determination of the Palestinian people comes in August of 2014.
Call in through Google Hangouts. That's how we do call-ins. I left the email in the chat. You use your Google account, and then you either send a message or call in right away. Up to you.
Black Americans were in Ferguson, Missouri, in the Midwest of the United States, protesting the death of a young man named Michael Brown, an unarmed African-American male who had been killed by a law enforcement agent. And as we protested, I saw two things that provided hope for the Palestinian struggle. One was that for the first time in my entire life of activism, I saw a sea of Palestinian people. I saw a sea of Palestinian flags in the crowd saying that we must form a solidarity project. We must struggle together in order to resist, because state violence in the United States, and state violence in Brazil, and state violence in Syria, and state violence in Egypt, and state violence in South Africa, and state violence in Palestine are all of the same sort. And we finally understood that we must work together and not turn on each other, but instead turn to each other. And later that night, when the police began to tear gas us, Maryam Barghouti tweeted us from Ramallah. She, along with other Palestinian youth activists, told us that the tear gas that we were experiencing was only temporary. They gave us tips for how to wash our eyes out. They told us how to make gas masks out of t-shirts. They gave us permission to think and dream beyond.
The fucking part mentioned they go back out of their gas masks. Like, look, they're monsters, get them. You know? They're not like happy sunshine gas masks. They're just like, you know, big eyes, fucking. Palestine monsters, get them! It's like,
yeah, the only way I see protesting ever working is if it's a unified idea that people are forming around.
yeah.
Right?
It shouldn't have to be, I'm gonna go sit outside where 2,000 of us are gonna sit there. It should be, okay, you know the difference between right and wrong? Cool. That's all you gotta do.
And it has to be completely non-violent, right?
Who?
The guy, I think.
He's a drama queen? You gonna call in, dude?
The movement has to be strictly non-violent, unified around one idea.
Mm-mm.
And yeah, it has to be, if one guy gets taken out, the person next to him can hold the idea up just as strong as the person, just like the person who went down.
Yeah. I'm trying to protect you. Last night it
And our local conditions by giving us a transnational or a global solidarity project. And from those tweets and social media messages, we began then to organize together. We brought a delegation of black activists to Palestine, and we saw the connections between the police in New York City, who were being trained by Israeli soldiers, and the type of policing we were experiencing in New York City. We began to see relationships of resistance, and we began to build and struggle and organize together. That spirit of solidarity, a solidarity that is bound up not just in ideology, but in action, is the way out. So as we stand here on the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the tragic commemoration of the Nakba, we have an opportunity to not just offer solidarity in words, but to commit to political action, grassroots action, local action, and international action that will give us what justice requires. And that is a free Palestine from the river to the sea. Thank you for your time.
So that was the comment that I guess sort of got him in trouble.
Oh, from the river to the sea.
Like he's he's advocating for the destruction of Israel by
No.
and I'm like, no.
Didn't hear that at all.
I'm thinking maybe he means like Palestine's free wherever they go in the area.
Yeah.
Like they're just free.
You're free to go. You're free to live where.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it doesn't mean I'm saying, hey, this is our home, and then you have bulldozers behind you.
Yeah.
Okay? It doesn't mean that. You know? It means living together. Understanding right versus wrong.
Yeah. We live in an ass-backwards world, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we can all see what the good idea is, but but they come up with these excuses of either human nature or this is what's meant to happen, or Matt Hunter with violence is the only thing that pushes us forward and all that. This conditioned, maybe thought out, but not really heavily investigated. It's like, would I exist without this violent thing going on? It's like,
you know what the judge did? The judge called in. The judge called in to the podcast.
Yeah.
That's what the judge did. All right.
The judge doesn't know himself. The judge came to me as like a spirit being thing, like, I'm the judge and I say this. And like, you don't know shit, do you? Like, oh, so you know then. You know what's going on. You know then. What? Fires a gavel.
Nah, he goes like this.
Quarter's out of session.
Nah, he goes like this.
Shimmies back to the ether.
He's like, I know. I'm the judge. Go ahead. I know. I know what's going on.
Oh, you do know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, good. So this is an act then. You're just acting? I got it. Yeah, who said a champion can't lie? Of course they can conceal the truth for some sort of means to an end. Why not?
So, Matt Hunter, are you going to call in or not? Do you have a Google account?
Yeah, he does, because he's chatting on
Oh, that's right, YouTube. That's right.
Or if there's anyone else watching, wants to put down a comment, a question. What do you think about this? Is this anti-Semitic? Is it not?
I heard no anti-Semitic remarks whatsoever.
Me neither. It did sound a little SJW, but that's the lane that guy's in.
Yeah, I didn't hear much of a solution. I heard more of like room for a solution. Meaning, we got to come together. And I'm like, yeah, but how?
Yeah.
And that's the other part where I wish more of these guys would, yeah, all right. He said he will, so now we wait. Yes. Put the smack down on Judge.
I've been confronted with such beings in my dreams, and they also ran away. What are you going to do?
We got pictures of the judge beating up behind the corner. Just bloodied and bruised.
Your lip bleeding?
Yeah. Dry lip. It's winter. We beat up the judge, man.
What's up, forces in motion? What do you think about this?
Is it?
Marc Lamont Hill. Is he anti-Semitic for this speech we just listened to?
Oh, it is.
Him saying that he wants to free Palestine from river to sea. Or sea to river, whatever the fuck.
Oh, it is. It is almost December.
What does that have to do with anything?
Seasonal.
Not the birth of Christ or anything, just...
I'm already here.
Fair enough.
You guys thought I was lying when I was in the garage telling people that. I'm like, no, it's the truth. I am here. He never sleeps. He says that he will call in. He never sleeps. He says that he will never die. He dances in the light and the shadow, and he is a great favorite. He never sleeps, the judge, and he's dancing. He says he'll never die. Too bad he needs to die in order to take another step.
I think that's a passage.
Probably.
Yeah. No, I'm no way, or in no way is his speech anti-Semitic. I fucking agree with you. Forces emotion.
What's that shit? What's this shit though? And you go like this, and it's like, it's like forces emotion. you gotta go like forces emotion. Like everybody will be acknowledged in their own specific way. There's Matt Hunter trending now, and him will be like forces emotion.
The Egyptian thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's like forces emotion.
Pyramid.
What's the other one? The
That was.
It'll come to me when if they show up.
Whatever. So what we're doing is we're waiting on Matt Hunter to see if he wants to call in or not. Here's some different points of view. Till that. Dawson.
Peruvian death cults.
Now, this guy, Ryan Dawson, will give you 3-4 times the amount of information you'd normally get on something like this. Usually you get a journalistic looking piece where the guy's holding a microphone and there's just open grass and the wall's like a mile away, but you can still see it.
Yeah.
You're like, this is what's going on here. Dawson's like, information, like,
Just throws it at you.
Yeah. This might get us kicked off of YouTube, but I'll play it anyways.
I was gonna recommend that one too.
When it comes to Dawson, I'm by no means speaks for me, but I am curious what he says.
He doesn't speak for me either. I just recommend him as far as information.
Yeah.
Of all the countries that have come into existence in the last century, no country's birth certificate is more legitimate than that of Israel.
I mean, what other country has a whole bunch of lawyers with degrees talking about how it's legal and moral and they have the right to dump a country on top of another country and be killing the native people of that land for 70 years?
And the guy talking is not Ryan Dawson.
No.
That's a friend of his, I believe.
You know who is talking? The guy who's about to call in.
The truth about the world is that anything is possible. Had you not seen it all from birth and thereby bled it of its strangeness, it would appear to you for what it is. A migratory tent show whose ultimate destination after many a pitch in many a muddied field is unspeakable and calamitous beyond reckoning. He's quoting here, so I'm guessing there's more. I didn't see an end quote.
No, me either. I did see an end quote from that one dude that called in that one time. Just saying.
One reason is that many of the men who founded the country,
Genocidal racist
Theodore Herzl,
who said in his diaries about the Palestinian Arabs on the 12th of June, 1895, spirit the penniless population across the frontier by denying it employment. Both the process of expropriation and the removal of the poor must be carried out discreetly and circumspectly. legality.
Zeb Jabotinsky,
Who said, "We cannot give any compensation for Palestine, neither to the Palestinians nor to other Arabs. Therefore, a voluntary agreement is inconceivable. All colonization, even the most restricted, must continue in defiance of the will of the native population. Therefore, it can continue and develop only under the shield of force, which comprises an iron wall, which the local population can never break through. This is our Arab policy. To formulate it in any other way would be hypocrisy. Legal.
David Ben-Gurion,
Who said we must expel Arabs and take their places. Legal.
Menachem Begin,
Forces in motion. Mounder is in some dark shit. Man. What does it say? Migratory?
Migratory tension.
Migratory tension. That's deep.
The universe is no narrow thing, and the order within it is not constrained by any latitude in its conception to repeat what exists in one part and any other part. Even in this world, more things exist. Oh boy. I hate reading.
You know what's better? You know what's better? If someone calls in. Did you need help or no?
No, let's just pray. I'll go for it, line by line.
That's fine.
The truth about the world is that anything is possible. True-ish.
I need to know what they mean, you know?
Well, can you not be you? Is that possible? Or can you just act not like you?
I say act not like you.
I think you gotta be you.
Can I make Jordan not Jordan?
Had you not seen it all from birth and thereby bled it of its strangeness, it would appear to you for what it is. Had you not seen it all from birth and there. A migratory tensha. A migratory tensha whose ultimate destination after many a pitch and many a mudded field is unspeakable and calamitous beyond reckoning. I disagree with that, but it's beautiful art. I do like dark art.
It's all beautiful.
But I don't like make-believe dark art. Where it's like the world's just horrible.
The world is what we make it.
Life is suffering, as like Jordan Peterson might say something to that degree.
I'd say it involves suffering.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it is suffering.
Until you create. Then suffering's not even suffering. Suffering becomes a will rather than a happening. Like something happening to me. Instead, I'm stepping into it. It becomes a creative process. Unless you're just purely conditioned and stuck where you're at.
And it's not much.
Yeah.
It's just whoever, you're going to see whoever, like, you know, like, listen, you're going to see this and this only, okay? The world is what I'm telling you it is. Okay. All right. Okay.
The universe is no narrow thing, and the order within it is not constrained by any latitude in its conception to repeat what exists in one part and any other part. Even in this world, more things exist. Like beyond space and time?
It's tough, man, because
that I agree with.
When someone's giving me quotes and stuff, it's like I'm not getting their meaning with it.
Yeah, well, these aren't like blatant quotes. They're artsy-fartsy.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. It's poetic. But I'd rather just be like, listen, do you want burgers or fries, man? What the fuck?
Like, Matt
Instead of
Hunter,
an eloquent speech.
you can tell us what you mean by that. Or if you just think it's cool, that's another thing.
For existence has its own order, and that no man's mind can compass. That mind itself being but a fact among others. That's, once again, wrong. Right? Our minds are ethereal, non-physical in nature, thus I can't physically attack your mind.
Oh, yeah? You feel it?
Thus, you can create your own order there.
Do you hate hip-hop yet? I'm just kidding, no.
If there is some sort of order, it's from inside out, not outside in. So, if we're talking about physicality, sure. But are we purely physical things?
No.
I don't think so. Anyways.
I am
Jamir.
my
He
skeleton.
said that the Palestinians would be crushed like grasshoppers, heads smashed against boulders and walls. Very, very legal.
Were either lawyers or had legal training. They were obsessed with making it legal. Unlike almost every other country, lawyers, not generals, were the midwives of Israel's birth.
I guess you're forgetting the likes of the Haganah, the Irgun, the Stern Gang, different types of terrorist factions that killed anti-Zionist Jewish people, British people, and also other foreigners and Palestinian people alike. I guess you're also forgetting that 400,000 out of the 800,000 Palestinians ethnically cleansed from their land were ethnically cleansed from their land before the 1948 war.
More accurately, rebirth, since it had existed as an independent country twice before in history, step by legal step.
Again, this is another disingenuous lie. If we look at the real history, there was never a state called Israel, except if you look at biblical history. And the state itself, and the two states that he's got there, the Jewish states, were not in all of historical Palestine. They are in only part of the area.
Israel moved legally toward nationhood from the Balfour Declaration in 1917 to the San Remo Agreement in 1920 to the League of Nations Resolution in 1922 to the Anglo-American Convention on Palestine in 1924 to the partition of land ordained by the United Nations in 1947.
He tries to blow by this real quickly, showing these little steps and saying, oh yeah, then 1948. What happened to the British White Paper in 1939? That is the result of the Anglo-American Committee. They wanted to limit Jewish immigrants to 75,000, and the Zionists were so mad they started bombing British ships and even killing other Jews who tried to leave Palestine. The White Paper was saying that it would not be a Jewish or Arab state, and they were trying to get the United States to take some responsibility in enforcing this. It was based on the Morrison-Brady Plan, and the Arabs and the Israelis both rejected this. The Israelis, by the way, the British had confiscated guns and weapons from Palestinians, but not the Jews. And then the Irgun and Stern gangs went around machine gunning people at mosques and shooting villagers. This all happens, and all the boat bombings and killings, all before the war. This all happens prior to 1947. From 39 to 47, Israeli terrorists were killing Arabs and British people. And Menachem Begin, who we mentioned earlier, actually signed off on bombing a boat full of Jews that killed 200 Jewish Holocaust survivors. He was in a group with David Ben-Gurion. Both of these people end up becoming prime ministers, by the way. It's disgusting. The Jewish Agency and these Haganah terrorist organizations become the government of Israel.
Which would be fine.
Sorry for the volume thing there. The video just got loud out of nowhere, so if you had headphones on, I apologize.
Your heart's desire is to be told some mystery. The mystery is that there is no mystery.
Yes and no.
You calling in, dude? We're waiting on you. Yeah.
I'd say it's the ego that's involved in mystery, and then once there's quote unquote self-discovering, that's when it's like, oh shit, that was me the whole time. And everything just fucking combines together and you're no longer fractured.
Or it was already there.
It's like an epiphany moment. It's like, oh shit, that was me already.
That's why I say, did people...
All my good deeds and bad deeds, that was me.
Like, did people like, you know...
See why I did it.
Do people find out, or do they just forget for a while, you know? It's like, I already knew this, you know?
Yeah, but it's so... What's the word? It's so practical already. It's like, oh, duh.
Yeah.
That's what it's like, I would say.
If any of these consulted the native Palestinians and the newly immigrated European Jews to the land.
Into a nation state for the Jewish people and an Arab state. Yet immediately upon its lawful establishment in 1948 as the nation state of the Jewish people.
Notice how I keep saying lawful. Like that makes it moral or something. I don't know.
It works in court. That means real life. It's like,
Israel was illegally attacked by all the surrounding Arab states, as well as by elements of the local Arab population.
Again, this is completely disingenuous. Israel were never, ever under any military threat whatsoever, and its military capabilities outweighed every single one of the neighboring countries, including the Palestinians that attacked them. They were backed with Western weapons.
That's also the thing that Shapiro brought up.
What?
No, was it? No, Crowder. Steven Crowder brought up. As soon as they established themselves as a country, they just got all out assaulted by whatever. And Israel kicked their ass.
Like,
go Team Israel.
Like, dude, go fuck yourself. God. It's like showing people dying, you know?
Yeah.
Dying, getting blown.
Yeah.
To pieces. Bombs and shit, man.
It's like either you were never slapped or someone didn't slap you enough.
Fuck.
I don't want to talk numbers with the partition plan in particular, because 55% of historical Palestinian land was handed to 33% of the newly immigrated population. So why would Palestinians not accept this? And also he doesn't include that the Israeli side did not accept this either.
In defending its right to exist during that war, Israel lost 1% of its population, including many civilians and Holocaust survivors. It also lost some of the land assigned to it by the United Nations. It captured other land from the aggressors that was originally assigned to the Arab state.
Only Dershowitz can normalize that sort of a illegal land grab and just completely leave out the fact that 7,000 people from the Arab armies died, as well as 13,000 Palestinians.
I want to hear Jordan's response to the epilogue of Blood Meridian. Ooh, a link. You got it.
Go ahead.
Just give me a second.
Carlos Condit had no idea. Look at that. He had no idea. It's like Bisping. Second he turned around, there was a knee.
America, fuck you. Sure, why not? We're spitballing anyways. They actually called one of us by our names. Respectable.
I want the blunt guy to respond to this.
I wouldn't mind if you said that.
Merely intentions, Joe. Merely intentions.
It's like Rogan when he does, like, when there's a white guy fighting a black guy.
Yeah.
He's like, it's like, in the yellow trunks, this guy. Like,
yeah.
Just call it, one's a black guy and one's a white guy. Why you gotta do this shit for? Yeah, let's hear this.
Epilogue. In the dawn, there is a man progressing over the plain by means of holes which he is making in the ground. He uses an implement with two handles, and he chucks it into the hole, and he enkindles the stone in the hole with his steel, hole by hole, striking the fire out of the rock which God has put there. On the plain behind him are the wanderers in search of bones, and those who do not search. And they move haltingly in the light, like mechanisms whose movements are monitored with escapement and palate, so that they appear restrained by a prudence or reflectiveness which has no inner reality. And they cross in their progress one by one that track of holes that runs to the rim of the visible ground, and which seems less the pursuit of some continuance than the verification of a principle, a validation of sequence and causality, as if each round and perfect hole owed its existence to the one before it there on that prairie, upon which are the bones and the gatherers of bones and those who do not gather. He strikes fire in the hole and draws out his steel. Then they all move on again.
Is it?
It's very happy, sunshiny, you know. Made me feel happy.
I'm guessing that's a metaphor for something.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm lost, dude.
I was pretty focused on Hendrix.
A lot of artsy-fartsy stuff. They could be saying something simple, but they'll say it in a different way.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's like, if I do it this way, anyone could just do it. So I gotta write it a little more intricate.
I don't mind that.
Nah, me neither. No. I will give it another listen. Because I'm honestly missing the point.
Epilogue. In the dawn, there is a man progressing over the plain by means of holes which he is making in the ground. He uses an implement with two handles, and he chucks it into the hole, and he enkindles the stone in the hole with his steel, hole by hole, striking the fire out of the rock which God has put there. On the plain behind him are the wanderers in search of bones, and those who do not search. And they move haltingly in the light, like mechanisms whose movements are monitored with escapement and palate, so that they appear restrained by a prudence or reflectiveness which has no inner reality. And they cross in their progress one by one that track of holes that runs to the rim of the visible ground, and which seems less the pursuit of some continuance than the verification of a principle, a validation of sequence and causality, as if each round and perfect hole owed its existence to the one before it there on that prairie, upon which are the bones and the gatherers of bones and those who do not gather. He strikes fire in the hole and draws out his steel. Then they all move on again.
He's talking about communism.
I heard some things there, like causality. Also sounds like a life and death cycle. Oh, it sounds like a life and death type of cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
You strike fire, and the fire goes out, and you move on to the next hole.
You inject your cold steel into the hole.
Causality.
Now, I don't want to
Determinism.
try to find something that's not there.
Let me know if I'm just reading that completely wrong. Causality, obviously a real thing, but I would argue it's almost somewhat determined already. But not determined by the ego, which is how one would read it. Which is how one would read it as causality. So really it's almost like fatalism.
Yeah.
Things were meant to go the way things are meant to go. Reasons for that?
Woo! Woo!
Yeah.
It's like,
How many books must I write for that one?
What's her name? Faith?
Yeah.
Looks like she needed to fuck up a ton of times to get it right.
Yeah. Yeah. Becomes practical, something like that.
If she just did what she was told, she would have understood it.
Yeah.
It's like you're gonna mess up a lot before you get it, but you'll get it. Really? Yeah. All right. Now where's your marriage? You know?
You sort of need the. You need to consider the idea that who I am and what I am is that strictly caused by past events. Right? If I was born in a different family or whatever the fuck. Right? Those are worth considering, but only for the sake of development. I would say that.
Yeah, no, by no means should that really ever affect.
Once you know who you truly are,
Yeah.
then you sort of see that. Like, oh, this is the thing that's created by the causal chain is the thing that turns into Plato. Not the philosopher, but the little doughy shit that you form into things. It becomes something like you either accept as you or you disregard as you. It just becomes another choice. Whatever, conditioning, say a family of, boxers, and then you arrive, but then you find out who you are, which breaks the conditioning.
Yeah.
And you get to decide whether the window dressing is you or not. Like, oh, I am a boxer. Like, that's you determining that. I don't have that in front of me.
The judge smiled because Matt Hunter didn't call in.
I probably know more than the judge and who wrote the judge.
Fuck.
But that's not based on academic readings or studying books for years.
Or a piece of paper that says I know
Or
more.
studying works for years. It's strictly experience. Just, what's the word? Vantage point. Right?
But I thought wisdom came from age and in papers from schools.
No.
No?
Actually, it's the development of the frontal lobe of your brain. That's what it is. But yeah, it's simple, practical things. Simple, just noticing differences with things. Right? You do internal investigation. Soon enough, you'll get a good smell of what's your ego versus what is your intuition. And then you can sort of separate those two. Say, okay, I know, whatever, if I have a dream or vision, like, you're God. You're the God.
You're right, I am.
You can, okay, I can smell a separation. Okay, that's this thing, and that's this thing, that's that. And then you can find things that are completely independent. That's where collective unconscious comes in.
Watch out for those guys that say, that means you're a Republican. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
Where it's like, well, that's not me at all.
Yeah.
It's me to the extent of observation. But does it become me now because I observe? That's the other reflective property. You observe it, you become it. At least in the idea realm. But what does it mean to you, Matt? Oh yeah, like I said, whatever we listen to, if I fuck that up, you can let me know.
You could also call in. Waiting on you, dude.
Yeah.
At least the judge calls once in a while, you know?
Nah, I put him in timeout. Just kidding.
Nah, we beat the fuck out of him. We got pictures, man. Shows him tied up in a chair. Guys, I don't know what the fuck I was talking about, man.
I have had dreams where it's like you hear like a voice or whatever entity, whatever you want to call it, in a dream, where it's like, you know, the world is cold and dead and there's no meaning to it and things like that. It's like, oh, it's just easy work.
I think it depends who you are, yeah.
Like, oh, I just Thanos you. Sure. Goodbye.
If you're the inauthentic individual, then
Mr.
maybe...
Stark, I feel cold. Yeah. If the judge is like an archetype or a symbol for an archetype within nature, yeah, I'm cool with that. Just understand when you compare other archetypes, then it's like, okay, you can't be right about this. Then it ends up just observing a function rather than
function like
the
that.
end all be all.
Yeah, the end all be all, just like this flying knee. No chance, man. He walked right into that. Look at that. Rogan's like, I can't watch this.
And you need to add a ref in there for that shit.
Yeah.
Like where the ref saves the guy.
Yeah, it's like push you over.
I hate seeing that stand back here.
That's it.
Stop. Hey, YouTube, stop.
And he's like, no, no, stop. Alright, well.
I'll give you till 11:05, Matt. Eastern time. If you want to call in or not. Or you can just say no now or whatever. Oh, until then. Actually, I got nothing.
You are willing to criticize the judge?
Depends.
Judge's intentions.
What does the judge mean to you, Matt? Then I'll tell you if I'm judging. Well, of course I'm judging, but I'm judging the judge, but what does the judge mean to you? Is it an archetype?
Is it a daddy figure?
Is it a model?
Dude, it's not a number.
What you do is you scroll up in the chat to our email. You go into Google Hangouts. You invite someone, or you send a message using that email. And then we chat it up. Chat it up.
Stop.
Turn it up.
Gosh. Scotty too hotty.
Dude, I watched an entire Royal Rumble.
Really?
The 2000 Royal Rumble.
Really?
Or the Rock one.
Turn it up.
They stopped to do a whole dance show in the middle of the Royal Rumble.
That's awesome.
And then Rikishi threw them both the fuck out.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. It's around that time The Rock became like less funny. It's like, you're running out of ideas.
Oh, he was the hero character at that time.
That's fine. No. I meant like 2000, the end of 2000 going to 2001. It's like You're looking like the one that I see now. It's the going out of 98 into 99, 2000, where you're like, that's the one.
I think I watched another another pay-per-view. I forgot what it was.
Let's watch some.
Hmm?
Let's watch some.
Some what?
Some wrestling.
Yeah, I'll get this channel pulled. Don't play wrestling. Don't play Eminem. Don't play Jay-Z. Don't criticize Israel.
Too late. And too late. Already criticized Eminem in Israel. The Israeli government.
Yeah. Like a child, me as a child could just imagine this scenario and like fix it. But here's what we'll do. We'll cut it in half. We'll call this Israel and call this Palestine, and everyone will just get together. Yeah. Or get along together.
How fast do you think that is?
Like, guys, we're all the same. We just eat different food, you know? We look different. How fast?
Yeah.
The pitch? Like in the 80s.
Yeah, like 88?
Yeah. Yeah, it was just like...
They all don't look like athletes to me. See that batting stance? Like, who the fuck's it?
They even bunted unathletically.
Yeah, you bunt on the last out? They bunted on the last out. What the fuck, man?
These guys, like...
Ugh.
I don't know. Maybe it's just things that have become so uniform now. Like all the movements. Everyone squares up for a bunt the exact same way.
There's some people that they just look stupid doing it, man. Ugh. What in God's name?
Jordan's thought on the judge. How about this? I go on a marathon later just watching all of it. And I'll look strictly at the character of the judge. Right?
I'll do it too. I'll look at it. It would be cool if you called in.
Yeah, fucking explain it to us.
I'm getting a lot of their words and not yours. Alright.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
That's it.
Time is up. We gave you 2 minutes overtime.
2 minutes. Time is relative.
Alright. Not done recording yet.
Huh?
We're still live.
Don't give a shit, man.
It's like, alright.
No, it's... Jordan, I'm... it's like, help.
Nah, I just let you die. Sorry.
Well, that's why you won't be Superman.
Anyways.
You forget.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you feel like. Always comment. Matt, I will get into the Judge series, I guess, if they're free and on YouTube. Otherwise, I'm not paying for it or buying any books. And as always, give this video a thumbs down, which you probably will.